Hey everybody, welcome back. For those of you that are unfamiliar with my videos, I am a registered nurse from the United States, Texas specifically. I moved to Sweden 14 months ago, and I've been studying Swedish since 13 months ago, and I live in Helsingborg, Sweden. So as you can tell from the video, I'm having a little bit of a challenge, and I wanted to talk about that today. I cannot work as a nurse in Sweden because I have to improve my Swedish first, and I also have to have a registration here in the country of Sweden. They call that a legitimation. Now, in the process of studying for the nursing examination and improving my Swedish, I felt that it would be best to try to get a job in healthcare. So I applied for a bunch of jobs and was offered a job working with home healthcare as a undersköterska, which is a nurse aide. I'm still doing it right now. I've been doing it for about 2 months, but I'm having some issues. So what ended up happening is, to give you a little bit of background, in order to stay in Sweden, if you come from the United States, you can stay here for 3 months on your passport each year. But after that, you have to have something that allows you to stay in Sweden. So if you have no family connections here, then the other two options are to study here in Sweden, so you get like a student permit, or you can get offered a job here in Sweden and stay here and work. Now, I chose the student path because I needed to learn Swedish to be able to work as a nurse, so that seemed logical. And so I applied for the study permit, which also allows you to work here in Sweden. Now, the study permit is only good for a couple weeks before and after your program is starting and finishing. And my program started in September, it ended in June. And so I had about 2 weeks after my program was done be able to apply for an extension. You can't apply for the extension before you finish your 2 semesters of studying here, and that is a requirement. You have to have 2 semesters of studying here in Sweden before you can apply for that 12-month study and work permit. So I had to wait till I got my grades. So that takes a little bit of time, and it got kind of down to the wire because there was only a 2-week period. I can't apply after they call it a UT card, my residence card runs out. So I managed to get everything turned in, and that was June. It is now the middle of October, and I am still waiting for an answer. As you can see in my other videos, I have called to Migration Verket, which is the migration agency here in Sweden. They told me they are not able to give me any more information or answers. It's just a matter of I have to wait. And I also saw something on their website several weeks ago about their machine was broken that prints out the card, so that's going to create a further delay. So it's been quite frustrating. I went on their website. There is a way that you can see how long it's going to take to get an answer on average. And it wasn't really clear by the drop-down box and all the options which ones to pick, so I kind of played around with it a little bit, and I was getting averages of 4 to 12 months to wait for an answer. And my fear is, what if the answer is no? So I called to them and said, hey, can you give me some more information? No, we can't tell you what the average wait time is. You just have to wait. So now I'm stuck in Sweden. I can't go anywhere outside of Sweden because my UT card has expired. Although I'm legally here and I legally can work here, I received documentation of that. So that creates a lot of other issues. For example, I wanted to, I can drive here in Sweden on my American driver's license for 1 year from the time that I got my temporary tax identification number. And so I applied for that, and I got that in January of this year. So that means January of 2023. I can no longer use my American driver's license here in Sweden. I have to have a Swedish one. So I thought, I'll just go take some driver's classes, that sort of thing, learn the Swedish way of driving. And so in order to do that, I had to apply through another agency in the government, which is the transport agency here. It's kind of like the DMV in America, for a learner's permit. But I did get the permit. It took, I think 2 months for me to get the permit to be able to sign up for classes. So I went down, I signed up for the classes, they're putting me in the system, I went and I had a lesson. They're like, we're gonna sign you up for December to take the driving test. And then lo and behold, when they click the button, it says that I do not live in Sweden, and so I cannot therefore take the test, even though I've been granted by this other agency the permit to be able to learn to drive and take the test here. So there's a whole lot of left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing here in Sweden, which I'm sure it's just like that any country that you move to. And that's one thing I wanted to say is it's not all an easy walk in the park when you move to another country. It doesn't matter where it's at. I prepared for this for several years before I moved here. Tried to do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people, but you're still gonna find things. In fact, a lot of times you'll learn the way to do something, and by the time you get to that point where you're going to apply for something or get certain documents or whatever, the process ends up changing. And there's so many different agencies and they have their different ways of doing things. And if you talk to one agency, they tell you this is how you're supposed to do it with the other agency, but they don't really know because they're not the same agency. So there was a lot of that, and I'm sure it's that way. If a Swedish person were to move to the United States, I'm sure it's the same thing. Just be prepared for that. If you're gonna move, say, to Sweden or somewhere else, there will be a lot of frustrations, and you just have to remind yourself, why was the reason that I came to this country? What was the main purpose, the goal that I had? That way you don't get completely exasperated. And you need to be patient when you're talking to these people in these agencies. Make sure you're patient with them because a lot of times they don't know and things are always changing for them as well. And so back to what I was saying about the driver's license situation. So that triggered me to start doing some more digging. So I talked to another agency, which is the tax agency, because apparently they're supposed to click a button on their end in the computer saying that I actually live here in Sweden, even though I've been living here, and I'll be paying taxes here in Sweden with the job that I've been doing for the last 2 months in home health. And they said, no, we can't do that because you don't have a permanent personal identification number, which is like social security number in the United States. And I thought, okay, well, what do I do then? Well, you need to go talk to the migration agency. Well, as I mentioned, I'm still waiting on the migration agency. It's been since June and it's now October and I haven't heard anything. I've called them, I'm not getting any answers. So then I found out, well, then there's the work permit. Well, I didn't know, do I need to apply for the work permit since I already applied for the one, or do they just convert one over? And so when I talked to someone there, they basically said, go ahead and apply for the work permit. But it's something you can't do. It's something that your employer has to do. They have to initiate the process. So I signed what's a 6-month agreement. It's quite common here in Sweden that when you first get a job, that you're on a conditional agreement. So I feel like I don't want to cause too much trouble for these people because they were nice enough to hire me. And so I don't want to burden them with asking them, hey, can you initiate this work permit for me? But I'm kind of down to that point where I had to. So I talked to those in charge at my company and I was like, hey, this is my situation. Part of my job with you guys is I have to drive. I have to have a driver's license to be able to visit the patients. And I can only do that through January, and in order to get the extension, I need you to apply for a work permit. I'm like, I need y'all to do that so that I can continue to do my job effectively for you guys and stay here in Sweden. But we don't know how to do that. And so basically, I'm kind of at a stalemate right now with that whole process. Then let's add one more thing to the mix. I found out there's a political situation going on here in my city, in Helsingborg. So they have here in Sweden, they have communes, which is kind of like the greater metropolitan area of a city, and they are responsible for things like healthcare. And so we have privatized home health. We also have home health that you can get through the commune, through the government. The company I work for happens to be private, but the commune here is wanting to basically make them cease to exist here in this city. So which would mean that all of us that are working there, and I'd only been working there for a few weeks, are gonna have to look for new jobs again. So, and we've got like a lot of new people there. So we would have all had to start looking for jobs all over again. They came and basically those in charge of the company requested a little bit more time, and so it was all over the newspapers and everything. They're gonna give this company 3 more months. They're gonna come back in 3 more months, evaluate us, see if our company can continue to exist. So it's been a bit stressful for me, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. My goal is to take the nursing examination here in Swedish in December and then take my practicum in January, and then I can apply for a nursing job here. So hopefully the company will still be here and I'll still have this job. Let's just add one more thing to the mix though. I haven't gotten paid. I've been here 2 months in Sweden, and apparently there's a thing they do that's different here in Sweden, quite different from America. You get paid once a month. You get paid on the 25th of every month. I was a little surprised. Like I said, you do all this research when you move to another country, and it's just really hard to know all these things. I didn't know. I've been living here for a long time and I didn't know. Nobody told me. It wasn't something, it's like they say, you know, back home, you don't know what you don't know. So I just kind of by chance came across that, and they said, well, it's really difficult to pay you because you have no mobile bank ID. So mobile bank ID is a way to verify who I am, but I can't get a mobile bank ID here in Sweden because I don't have a permanent tax identification number. I can't get a permanent tax identification number because I need the migration agency, to grant me either an arbetstillstånd, a work permit, or to give me that extension I've been waiting on for several months, so that then I can go back to the tax agency, apply for that personnummer. So I'm like, so how am I going to get paid? So I am in limbo with all these different things. With driving here in Sweden, I'm in limbo about getting you know, a personal identification number, mobile bank ID. And so they're like, well, they finally told me this week. You know, I've been on them for, it's just like once a week, where are we at about getting me paid? Where are we at about getting me paid? And I'm getting nervous because I'm like, well, if the company shuts down and I don't get paid and I've been working, you know, 2 months. So they got with me this week and they said, here's a form that you need to fill out. And I was like, what do you mean? Oh, you need to go online and fill out all this stuff. So I ended up, thankfully, my bank account is with Nordea, and I called them and they were so kind and they just walked me through the whole process of that. So then I'm asking a nice lady, I was like, so, you know, I haven't gotten paid in 2 months here in Sweden. How many days does this take before, you know, because the next pay date's coming up in 2 weeks. I'm like, will everything be in order so I can get my next paycheck? She's like, well, it takes at least 30 days. I'm like, so now I'm gonna go 3 months without getting paid. She's like, well, there is another thing that you can apply for. It's like a card. She was trying to explain it to me. It's kind of strange. She said it's like a card that they put money on and then you somehow deposit it at the bank or something like that. If y'all know anything about that, let me know in the comments section. So anyway, I'm gonna talk to my boss about that next week and say, I gotta get paid, I gotta pay my bills, gotta, you know, pay my rent, that sort of thing. I've been working for you guys for 2 months. I can't go for 3 months without getting paid. This is an option. Please take care of it. So this is a little bit weird to me because I have never worked, you know, I've worked for a lot of different companies in my life. I'm 40 years old. I've never seen a company where they don't facilitate all this stuff for you. So that's something that's quite different. Not really complaining so much about that. I'm complaining that I haven't got paid. That's quite stressful, and the fact that I'm worried about what if I don't get paid before the company shuts down. So I would love to hear your stories in the comment section. Have you all been through anything like this here in Sweden? Did you have any resolution? Do you have any advice for me? I didn't want this to be a complaining session, but I do want people to be informed and have a little bit more information. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know. You know, I know a lot of people want to move to Sweden, and the whole thing of moving to another country can be kind of glamorized as all wonderful, but there are a lot of challenges that you have to be prepared for. And that being said, I want to thank you guys so much too for all your support, your comments. Please continue to like and subscribe, and leave comments if you want to get some feedback from me, if you want to see more content like this. And I really do appreciate your support. You'll have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Y'all take care.